The distress signal. The stars stretched in silence across the endless black sky, countless points of light that burned without care. But hidden between them a small signal pulsed, weak, broken, yet full of desperation. It was not a normal message. It was not a trade call, it was a cry for survival. The signal came from a colony on the edge of the galaxy, a world attacked and burned by an empire that thrived on conquest. The aliens who lived there had screamed into the void, begging for someone, anyone, to answer. Their voices carried by the fragile beacon, a desperate hope that was fading fast. Many fleets had heard the call, but none had moved. The empires of the galaxy knew the attackers were too strong. They did not wish to sacrifice their own soldiers, so they closed their channels, turned away, and pretended they never heard it. The galaxy was a place of power and fear, and no one wanted to challenge the mighty invaders, but the signal did not die. It traveled further, through empty sectors, through dead systems, through fields of broken satellites. It echoed where no one listened, and then, finally, it touched something that had slept for a very long time. Far away, in the ruins of an abandoned shipyard, old machines stirred. They had been silent for centuries, covered in dust and shadows. But when the signal reached them, something inside woke. Systems blinked alive. Warning lights flashed deep inside the core. An ancient code activated. The code carried a name. And with that name came memory, humanity long ago. Humanity had walked among the stars. They had built fleets so powerful that the galaxy trembled at the sight of them. But after endless wars, humanity had vanished. Some believed they were extinct. Others whispered that they had only gone to sleep, waiting for the day they would return. Now the signal had found them. In the darkness of space, an old console lit up. A single voice, digital and cold, spoke the words, "Distress signal detected," activating protocol Iron Tempest, and then the sound of gears. The sound of steel giants awakening filled the silence. The colony that had sent the signal did not know what they had called. They only prayed someone would help. The invaders laughed as they destroyed cities, enslaved families, and burned the skies. They thought no one would dare answer. But beyond their sight, deep in the void, massive warships opened their eyes. The first of the ships, black as night and covered in scars of ancient battles, slowly rose from its resting place. Its engines glowed with a cold blue fire. One by one, more ships followed. Huge destroyers, carriers, and dreadnoughts, each carrying the mark of a forgotten empire. Their systems spoke in silence, connecting, aligning, preparing for war. Inside them, crews awoke from deep cryosleep, their breath fogging the glass as they stepped into a galaxy they had left long ago. Their faces calm, their eyes sharp, trained only for one purpose, to fight. They did not ask who sent the signal. They did not ask why. To them, the call was enough. Humanity had sworn long ago, when the weak cried out, their fleet would answer. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. First from hidden traders, then from frightened scouts. "The humans are moving," they said. "The deadliest fleet has awakened." And with every whisper, fear grew. The invaders who had attacked the colony scoffed. They mocked the idea. "Humans are gone," they said. "Ghosts of the past, nothing more." But deep inside, even they felt a chill, because everyone in the galaxy knew the stories. Stories of how human fleets fought with a fury unmatched. Stories of how their warships could tear through armadas twice their size. Stories of how their enemies were not only defeated, but erased from history. The distress signal continued to pulse. But now it was no longer alone. Now the pulse was answered by the beating drums of war. As the fleet gathered, the void around them seemed to darken. Engines lit the black with blue fire. Rows of cannons extended from the sides of massive hulls. Fighter bays opened, drones activated, every system preparing for battle. From the lead dreadnought, a command echoed through the fleet. Steady, powerful, filled with cold resolve. "We are humanity's war fleet, the Iron Tempest. We have heard the call, and we will answer." The galaxy had forgotten humanity, but humanity had not forgotten its oath. And as the deadliest fleet began its march toward the distress signal, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The colony burned, the invaders celebrated, the galaxy watched in silence, but somewhere in the void hope returned. Because humanity was coming, and with humanity came war. Whispers of humanity. The distress signal did not vanish into silence. Instead, it carried across the trade lanes and back channels of the galaxy. Every smuggler, every hidden outpost, every listening station caught pieces of it. Some ignored it, some laughed at it. But others whispered. The whispers spoke of humanity, a species that many thought long gone. Some called them myths, some called them nightmares. Yet the mention of their name brought a shadow over every conversation. In the great halls of the alien council worlds, leaders argued. The humans are extinct, one said, his voice sharp. Even if they live, they would not risk their fleet for strangers. Another replied with fear in his eyes. And what if the stories are true? What if they still remember the oath they once swore? Merchants carried the rumor from system to system. Ships are stirring in the abandoned human sectors, they whispered. Lights have returned to dead shipyards. Others swore they had seen movement, giant shapes drifting in the black. The rumor spread like fire, burning across the galaxy. No proof, only fear. And fear was enough. For in every corner of space, the legend of humanity was remembered differently. Some remembered humans as saviors, warriors who defended the weak. Others remembered them as monsters, destroyers who left nothing but ashes. Both stories held truth. Both stories made hearts tremble. In the back alleys of space stations, smugglers told tales of battles where a single human warship cut through entire fleets. They never retreated, one said. They fought until the enemy begged for mercy, another spat. No, they did worse. They gave no mercy at all. Children on distant colonies grew up with warnings whispered by parents.
Sleep or the humans will come, mothers said.
Close your eyes or the humans will find you. But in this moment, as the distress signal spread, those warnings became hopes. If the humans return, a frightened alien farmer told his son, maybe they will save us. The invaders who had attacked the colony also heard the rumors. Their generals laughed. Humans, dead for centuries, they mocked. We burn their worlds, and no one rises to stop us. Still, their scouts did not return from the edges of human space. Still, their fleets grew uneasy in the silence of the dark. On a hidden moon, old refugees gathered in prayer, their eyes glowing with hope. The humans are coming, one whispered. I dreamed of their ships, black and silver, engines like suns. Others nodded, tears in their eyes. If they return, no empire can stand. The galaxy had seen many wars, many conquerors, many fallen empires, but none inspired whispers like humanity. Because humanity was not remembered for their numbers, or their wealth, or their size. They were remembered for their will. It was said that when humans fought, they fought as if the universe itself was against them. It was said their fleets burned brighter, their soldiers shouted louder, their commanders never surrendered. It was said that when the last human ship was cornered, it would still fight until the stars turned cold. And now, with each passing day, more whispers spread, whispers of movement in the black, whispers of engines that had not roared in centuries, whispers of shadows too large to be natural drifting near forgotten sectors. The invader empire grew restless. Their leaders mocked the stories, but their soldiers grew uneasy, for even the bravest warriors tremble when legends move. Some alien leaders tried to send spies into human territory. None returned, only fragments of broken transmissions, static, and a single phrase repeated in a voice both mechanical and alive. The fleet stirs, among the common people of the galaxy. Hope bloomed, fragile, desperate, but real. They lit candles, they prayed. They spoke softly to their children. Hold on, they said. The humans might answer. The distress signal continued to pulse, weaker now, fading as the colony was crushed. But though the message weakened, the whispers only grew stronger, for the galaxy itself had become the messenger. In the cold heart of the void, the human fleet gathered. But the galaxy only felt its shadow. It was enough. Whispers turned to fear. Fear turned to certainty. Certainty turned to prophecy. The humans were returning, and with them war would follow. The awakening armada deep in forgotten space, where dust clouds hid the remains of ancient battles, where stars barely shone through the endless dark. An old shipyard stirred to life. The place had once been a graveyard of silence, a shadow where even scavengers feared to wander. But now it awoke. The distress signal had reached the heart of steel, and the response was not soft, it was thunder. From beneath layers of dust and shattered debris, the first of the Titans rose. A dreadnought older than most living civilizations, its black hull scarred with the marks of forgotten wars. It stretched like a mountain across the void, engines humming with blue fire as systems long frozen began to breathe again. Panels cracked open, revealing weapons hidden for centuries. Long barrels unfolded like the arms of giants, shields lit with a faint glow, as if remembering the taste of war. And the dreadnought was not alone. In the shadows, more shapes moved. Hulks of sleeping predators waking from their slumber. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, each one massive, each one bearing the name of a human legend. Their names echoed through the comms: Iron Tempest, Black Star, Vengeance, Dawnbringer. Names that once made entire empires bow their heads. Names that had not been spoken aloud for generations. Inside the ships, the silence broke. Chambers hissed open, and men and women stepped out of cryosleep, their breaths misting in the cold air, their eyes opening to a galaxy they had left behind. They did not speak much, they did not need to. Their purpose was carved into them deeper than memory. They were not explorers, they were not traders. They were warriors. In control rooms, captains stood straight as if no time had passed. Their uniforms stiff, their voices sharp. Orders flowed smoothly, as though the fleet had only slept a single night, not centuries. Systems check, one called. All weapons online, another reported. Engines ready, came the reply. Shields at full capacity. The dreadnoughts aligned with destroyers. Destroyers aligned with carriers. Carriers aligned with swarms of fighter craft. The old chain of command reformed as if it had never been broken. The fleet pulsed with life like the heartbeat of a giant. Steady, powerful, unstoppable from the largest vessel. The command dreadnought Eternal Resolve. A single broadcast was sent into the void. The voice was deep, calm, and final. This is humanity's war fleet, the Iron Tempest. Distress call received, course locked. Mission accepted. Across the galaxy, those who monitored signals froze. Every translator confirmed the words. Every listener felt their skin crawl. Humanity had answered. In the empire that had caused the distress, commanders raged. It is a trick, they shouted. A ghost transmission. But in their hearts, they knew. The ships were real. The fleet was real. Because scouts at the edge of human space had vanished. Because long-range sensors caught glimpses of massive energy readings. Because the stars themselves seemed to flicker under the weight of awakening giants. The awakening armada did not march with haste. It marched with precision, every ship falling into formation, every engine burning with the same rhythm. The void around them lit with blue fire, as though a second dawn had arrived. Alien smugglers hiding in nearby sectors saw them, their small ships shaking from the wake of passing titans, their eyes wide, their voices trembling. The humans, one whispered, they have returned. They fled, carrying tales that spread faster than light. In hidden temples, priests who had spoken of this day fell to their knees chanting in awe. The fleet rises, the fleet rises. And their words echoed into the minds of believers across distant worlds. The awakening was not silent. It was a storm made of steel, fire, and determination. From orbit of the colony still burning under enemy hands, survivors watched the sky, broken and hopeless. And though they could not yet see the human fleet, some felt something shift, as if the universe itself had turned its gaze upon them. Children who cried now grew silent. Old men who prayed now wept. Mothers held their children tighter, whispering, "Hold on. Something is coming." The Iron Tempest moved forward. Steady and merciless, no hesitation, no fear. Only the certainty of warriors who had fought too many wars to count. In the void behind them, stars glittered as if cheering. In the void ahead, fire awaited, but the fleet did not pause. For they were humanity's armada, born of war, shaped by loss, sharpened by fury, and awakened by a single cry for help. And as their engines roared louder, the galaxy trembled. Because this was not just a fleet. This was a storm that would change everything. The enemy revealed. The colony that had sent the distress signal was drowning in fire. Cities lay in ruins, towers broken and skies thick with smoke above them. The enemy's warships hung like vultures, massive vessels carved from black steel, marked with the crimson crest of their empire. The invaders were known as the Cretan Dominion, an empire built on chains. Their fleets were feared not because of honor, but because of cruelty. They ruled by terror, enslaving those they conquered, turning whole planets into mines, farms, and factories for their war machine on the burning colony. Soldiers marched through the streets, dragging families from hiding places. Children cried as they were torn from their parents. The invaders laughed, their voices sharp and cold. One Cretan general stood high on the ruins, his armor glowing in the firelight. He looked at the destruction with pride. "Another world added to the Dominion," he declared. "Another weak species broken." "Their cries will fade like all the rest," the colony's leaders begged. "Please, mercy, we have no weapons, we surrender." But the Cretan knew no mercy. Surrender meant nothing. Chains awaited all high above. The command ship of the Cretan fleet watched the suffering like entertainment. Officers drank and feasted, celebrating their conquest. Their captain grinned, sharp teeth glinting. "No one will come for them," he said. "No fleet dares to face us, but one officer, younger than the rest, spoke in hesitation. The whispers speak of humans. Old legends say they might rise again." Laughter roared around the table. Their captain slammed his clawed hand against the table. "Humans are gone, dust and bones. Only fools believe in their return." Yet even as he mocked, reports arrived, scouts missing, sensors catching shadows at the edge of human space. The captain dismissed them. "Ghosts, nothing more," he sneered. But in his eyes a flicker of doubt shone. On conquered worlds across the Dominion, slaves whispered in secret. "Have you heard?" they asked each other. "The humans are coming." The Krezan guards silenced them with whips. But the whispers always returned stronger than chains. In the deepest chambers of the Dominion's capital, the High Lords debated. "The stories cannot be true," one said, his voice shaking. "But if they are," another whispered, "then we may have awakened something we cannot control." Still, their arrogance blinded them. "Even if the humans return," one lord said with a cruel smile, "we are stronger now, our fleets larger, our weapons deadlier. Let them come. We will crush them." But the galaxy knew the truth. Numbers did not matter. Strength did not matter when humans fought. They fought with a fury beyond reason. When humans built fleets, they built them to endure. Far from the burning colony, on hidden channels, spies reported what they saw. Movement in the old human shipyards, they said. Giant warships rising. Their messages cut into static. The last words filled with fear. "They are awake." Back on the colony, hope was nearly gone. Survivors huddled in the ruins, praying to the stars, one old alien whispered to his grandson. Long ago, when others fell, humans answered. Maybe they will answer again. The child looked up at the burning sky, eyes filled with tears. "Do you think they will come?" The old man closed his eyes. "Yes," he whispered, though his heart trembled in orbit. The Krezan fleet prepared their next move. Massive ships forming into a blockade, their weapons locked on the colony below, ready to strike again. They thought themselves untouchable, kings of the stars. But in the void beyond their sensors, unseen and silent, humanity's armada advanced, every engine burning with cold fire. Every weapon primed, the iron tempest was on its way. The Krezan laughed, the colony cried. The galaxy whispered, and the storm drew closer. The first strike. The night above the ruined colony was broken by fire. The Krezan fleet floated proudly in orbit, their black ships spread like a net, their weapons aimed downward, their captains drunk on victory. But then the stars shifted. At first it seemed like shadows moving at the edge of sight, faint blurs across the void. The Krezan sensors caught nothing. Their officers dismissed it as ghost echoes, until the shadows grew larger. Engines roared in silence. A deep vibration that traveled through the void. The survivors on the colony felt it before they saw it. The ground trembled, glass cracked, even the air seemed to shake, and then the sky lit with cold blue fire. Out of the darkness came giants, warships the size of mountains, black steel gleaming, hulls marked with scars from forgotten battles. They moved in perfect formation, their cannons extended, their shields alive with energy. The first human dreadnought cut through the blockade like a blade through paper. Its weapons unleashed beams of white fire that split enemy cruisers in half. Explosions bloomed like suns. Pieces of burning metal rained across the void. The Krezan shouted in panic. Unknown fleet detected, massive size, engage, engage. But their words were drowned by the roar of destruction. From the colony, survivors stared in shock, their tears mixing with hope. Children pointed to the sky. "They came," they whispered. "The humans came," their voices trembling with awe. The Krezan ships fired back volleys of plasma, missiles, beams, but the human warships did not falter. Their shields drank the fire. Their armor shrugged off the storm, and when they returned fire, it was merciless. Swarms of human fighter craft poured out from the carriers. Sleek black ships darting like predators, they struck with precision, disabling enemy engines, tearing apart weapon systems, leaving the Krezan blind and broken. On the command dreadnought, the human admiral stood calm, his eyes cold, his voice steady. "Execute strike pattern Tempest." At his order, the fleet moved as one, waves of energy cascading across the enemy formation. The Krezan captain who had mocked the humans earlier screamed into his comms. "It is them. It is the human fleet," his voice broke into fear. "By the stars, it is the Iron Tempest." But his words were cut short when a beam from the Eternal Resolve split his ship in two. The galaxy had remembered stories, but the truth was worse than the tales. Human fleets did not simply fight, they erased. They cut through the enemy like hunters cutting prey, not wasting a single strike, not showing a single pause. The first strike lasted minutes, but it felt eternal. Explosions filled the sky. The colony below lit up as if 1,000 suns had been born. Survivors shielded their eyes but refused to look away, because in that storm of fire they saw salvation. The Cretan formation shattered. Ships fleeing in panic, captains screaming, crews abandoning their posts. The invincible Dominion fleet crumbled in the face of something they had called myth. From the colony ruins, an old alien fell to his knees, his voice breaking. They came, they truly came. His grandson clung to him. Eyes wide, "We are saved," he whispered. Hope flooding his heart, but in orbit, the humans did not pause to celebrate. They pressed forward, striking down every ship that dared resist. Their discipline was unshakable, their fury cold, their silence louder than any war cry among the Cretan survivors. Terror spread not only at their defeat, but at the way the humans fought. No hesitation, no mercy. As if the war was not just against flesh and steel, but against the very idea of resistance. When the last enemy cruiser exploded, the silence returned. The sky above the colony cleared of the crimson ships. Only the Iron Tempest remained, vast, unyielding, staring down at the world below. The survivors wept, but they also trembled, for they saw not just saviors, but something greater, something that carried the weight of forgotten wars. The first strike was over, but the message was clear. The humans had returned, and no empire could stand in their path, the turning tide. The first strike shook the galaxy. Whispers became screams. Every channel filled with one truth. The humans had returned. The Cretan Dominion did not accept defeat. Their pride burned hotter than their fear. From every corner of their empire, fleets were summoned, massive war groups converging, ships larger and deadlier than those lost at the colony. They gathered at the edge of a dying star, a force so vast it blackened the heavens. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, tens of thousands of ships all waiting, all trembling in the shadow of what was coming. Their high commander spoke, his voice iron. "The humans bleed like all others. We will crush them under our numbers. We will burn their myths." Across the void, the Iron Tempest advanced, fewer in number, smaller against the sea of enemies, yet they moved with calm precision. Each ship aligned, each engine burning like a star. When the two forces met, the void itself seemed to shiver. The first wave struck, plasma beams, missiles, and energy lances filled the black sky. Explosions rippled, shields cracked. Human warships shuddered under the storm. For the first time since their awakening, the Iron Tempest strained. Dreadnought shields flickered. Fighter squadrons were cut apart. Cruisers burned and fell. The galaxy held its breath. Could even the humans be broken? The Cretan roared in triumph, their commanders shouting, "See, they are not gods. They will fall like the rest." Fleets pressed harder, pushing the humans back step by step. But humanity was not finished. Inside the Eternal Resolve, the Admiral stood silent, watching the storm batter his fleet. His officers called reports, shields collapsing on the front line, enemy pressing the flanks, losses heavy. Still, his eyes were calm, his voice steady. "Prepare the hidden weapons." Deep within the human warships, locked chambers opened, doors sealed for centuries groaned apart, and the weapons of old revealed themselves, weapons no other species dared to build. They were called the Starbreakers, colossal cannons that drew power not from reactors, but from the very fabric of space, energy so vast it could split moons, tear through fleets, and leave stars trembling. The Cretan laughed until the first Starbreaker fired. A beam of pure light tore across the battlefield, wide as mountains, endless as night. It cut through hundreds of enemy ships in a single breath. Cruisers turned to dust. Dreadnoughts split apart. Carriers fell silent. The Cretan cheers died into screams. Panic spread like fire. "Impossible," their captains cried. "No weapon can do this." But their eyes did not lie. The human fleet had revealed its true teeth. The Iron Tempest pressed forward, Starbreakers firing one after another, carving holes through the endless swarm, each blast shaking the void, each strike turning the tide. But it was not only the weapons, it was the will. Human captains stood unbroken, their voices iron. "Hold the line, push forward. No retreat." Fighter pilots dove into the heart of enemy formations, sacrificing themselves to break their wings, Destroyers rammed into cruisers, dragging enemies into fire. The humans fought like they had nothing left to lose. The battle raged for hours, the sky burning. The void alive with explosions, whole fleets erased. Billions watched across hidden transmissions, praying, trembling, unable to look away. At last, the Kreesan High Commander screamed, "Fall back, fall back! We cannot hold," but it was too late. Their great armada was shattered, their pride broken, their empire bleeding. When silence finally returned, the void was filled with the wreckage of ships, broken metal drifting like ash after a fire. Among it, the Iron Tempest still stood, scarred, battered, but alive, their weapons glowing, their engines still burning. The galaxy gasped in awe. The humans had not only survived, they had turned the tide, and with that victory came a truth no one could deny. Humanity had not returned as legend. They had returned as a storm, and storms do not stop until all is swept away. The legacy of fear. The battlefield was silent. Only the drifting wreckage of broken ships remained. Glowing embers scattered across the void like dying stars. The Kreesan armada was gone, crushed beneath the fury of the Iron Tempest. From the ruins of the battle, the human fleet emerged, scarred and blackened yet unbroken, their engines still burning, their formation still perfect, not as survivors but as victors. Across the galaxy, watchers trembled. Leaders who had mocked the rumors now sat in silence. Priests who had whispered of prophecy now wept. Merchants who had carried gossip now spoke only in fear. Humanity was not myth. Humanity was not gone. They had returned, and they had left their mark in fire on the conquered colony. Survivors lifted their eyes to the sky. Above them hung the massive shadows of human warships, silent and immovable, a sight that filled them with hope, but also with awe. They whispered to each other, "We are saved," but deep in their hearts, they also felt unease, for the humans looked down not as friends, but as judgment within the Kreesan dominion. Chaos reigned, fleets gone, worlds defenseless, high lords begging for answers, generals silenced, whispers spreading like poison. The humans cannot be stopped. Slaves on distant worlds smiled for the first time in generations. They repeated the words like a prayer. The Iron Tempest has returned, while their masters trembled in terror. But humanity did not march to conquer. They did not seize worlds, they did not raise banners. They fought, they destroyed, and then they moved on, leaving silence in their wake. In the command chamber of the Eternal Resolve, the Admiral stood with his officers, their faces cold, their voices steady. He gave only one order: transmit the message, across every open channel. In every language, in every sector of the galaxy, the human message was heard. This was our answer to a call for help. We are humanity. We do not forget. When the weak cry out, we will come, but know this: when we come, war comes with us. The words echoed through space, shaking the hearts of billions. To some, they were salvation. To others, they were a warning carved into eternity. The Kreesan survivors scattered, their empire broken beyond repair. They tried to regroup, but fear crippled them. Commanders refused to face the humans again. Soldiers deserted, worlds rebelled. The Dominion fell apart piece by piece, not only because of defeat, but because the shadow of humanity haunted them. In hidden temples, prophets declared the prophecy fulfilled. "The storm has risen, the storm will rise again," they cried. The humans are the judgment of the stars. Children on distant colonies grew up with new stories, no longer warnings of terror but tales of hope. "When all is lost, the humans will come," they whispered at night, and those words gave them courage. But leaders of great empires trembled, for they knew the truth. The humans did not fight for glory. They did not fight for conquest. They fought because it was their nature. When called, they answered, and when they answered, no one survived their wrath. The Iron Tempest continued its march, moving back into the void. Their engines fading into the darkness, no one knew where they went. No one knew when they would return, only that they were watching. Always watching, on the ruined colony, survivors carved a monument, a stone tower with words etched deep. They came when no one else would. They answered when all hope was lost. They are humanity, the storm of steel, the saviors and the destroyers. And across the galaxy, a single lesson remained, a legacy carved into fear and awe alike. Never call humanity unless you are ready for war itself to answer. The distress signal had been heard. The deadliest fleet had returned, and the galaxy would never forget the day the Iron Tempest rose again.